The commemorative coinage of Arkansas, represented by the 1936 Arkansas Centennial Commemorative Half-Dollar, is a compelling study in numismatic history. See, the 1936 half-dollar was minted, as most of them, to celebrate the state's centennial. Now, this was a limited mintage coin, defined by its dual design and highly unusual inclusion of a living political figure, Senator Joseph T. Robinson. Its creation a result of complex political and artistic authority, attention etched into the very coin and design. The analysis that I'm going to give you talks about the examination of the coin, the historical context, and the people involved in its creation. I'll give you some numbers, and then we'll wrap up with more about the channel. The Arkansas Centennial was issued to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Arkansas's admission to the Union, June 15th, 1836, a key milestone in the state's history. Authorization from the coin came from two different legislative acts. One, May 14th, 1934, and the second, June 26, 1936. Now, this was interesting because the staggered legislation laid groundwork for two distinct designs that would ultimately be produced. The primary purpose of this was to commemorate funds for that celebration, but the coins were sold at a premium, and by November 1936 had already raised $38,000 for the commission. Now, the issuance of the coins, again, these things were never a simple endeavor. The process is usually marked by political maneuvering, institutional compromise, and some artistic feuds. The initial coin design featured a 19th century Indian chief and a contemporary Lady Liberty. These were the works of Edward Everett Burr. Now, the models were prepared by Emily Bates. This will come in extremely handy later in the story. On the obverse of the coin, the depiction of the eagle in defensive stance, set up against the background of the Arkansas flag's diamond motif. And as stated before, the road to the final design, contentious. Everett Burr, who won the design, wasn't approved by the Fine Arts Commission. The person who was responsible for overseeing the aesthetic quality of the coinage said the artistic standards will have to be met. Well, this is where artistry meets political will. And Senator Hattie Cataway intervened for Burr and said, I'm sorry, but this will be Burr's design on this coin. More technically and aesthetically refined models were given to Emily Bates. Again, this was a little bit of contention. The sequence of events demonstrated not only that they were looking for this artistic vision, but more of a political interplay influenced on decisive rulemaking in overriding artistic judgment. In other words, Big Brother got involved. The second distinct coin is something that is known as the Robinson half-dollar. December 23rd, 1936, this particular coin, created by Henry Creese, featured the portrait of Senator Joseph T. Robinson. Now, while maintaining the eagle flag motif on the obverse, the reverse was the senator. Now, this was unusual and significant because the coin minted while the subject was still alive. It was a very rare practice. And for this to have happened, there had to be some sort of legislation. See, a Centennial Commission of Texas tried to do this earlier, and they were shot down. So this gives you a kind of political one-up, or this area of opportunity to say, hey, we were able to get this done. Unfortunately, July 14th, 1937, just months after the coins were minted, Senator Robinson would pass away. It was a poignant, somber reminder of this already historical piece. The Robinson half-dollar, therefore, is a more simple commemorative piece, a record of a political movement and a singular events that defined its creation. So what are we looking for as far as mintages? Well, there were a number of years, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. And in those years, there were various mintages. Now, these mintages declined as the years went on. Now, remember, 1937, there were 25,000 coins minted specifically with the Robinson's design. All the other ones are going to be the original design. 1935, there were 13,000 of them from Philadelphia, while there are only 5,500 from Denver and San Francisco. But in 36, 37, 38, and 39, the mintages dropped from 9,600 to 5,500 to 3,100 to 2,100. It was these declining mintages, the declining production, that suggested waning public interest in this particular celebration. The high mintage of the Robinson coin compared to this was more of a significant portrait of time, a remembrance of the senator's life. Thank you for watching the detailed look into the 1936 Arkansas Centennial Commemorative Half Dollar. I would appreciate spending time with you, so do me a favor, subscribe and come over on the weekends and join me on my live stream. Bring your coin questions and ask them in chat, where we have a very knowledgeable panel and a lot of people in chat that really know and understand the history of coins. If you leave without having your question answered, most likely it's because you didn't ask. All right, folks, be well, be blessed. Thank you so much. Remember, subscribe, like, comment down below, and I will see you for the next episode. Take care.